It's 7:30 p.m. across India and live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I'm Tanvi Taneja. And for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in Washington, D.C., Nick Harper. Nick, good evening from New Delhi.
Good morning, Tanvi. It's 10 a.m. here in Washington, D.C., 3 in the afternoon across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Donald Trump is back in court as his hush money trial continues. We'll be live with our correspondent outside court. And fresh fighting in Ukraine. More on that to come, but first, the headlines.
Xi Jinping says China, Russia should cherish, nurture, harden bilateral relationship as both hit out at the US for threatening their countries. Beijing residents divided on the Russian leader's visit to China. France sends more police to New Caledonia to restore calm in the Pacific island. Bans TikTok as emergency is imposed in the country for 12 days. Donald Trump's defense to resume cross-examination of the former president's ex-lawyer and prosecution witness Michael Cohen in New York for a third day. And India to host the Bharat Parv at the Cannes Film Festival for the first time. It will see the release of Save the Date for the first World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit to be hosted alongside the 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India. Our first news from the Israel-Hamas conflict. 5 Israeli soldiers were killed and several injured in the northern Gaza Strip after being struck by Israeli tank fire. The Israeli military said that there was a tank crossfire of the 202 Battalion. Israeli ground forces re-entered parts of northern Gaza this month to prevent Hamas from regrouping. This came as a barrage of rockets were fired at Israel from Lebanon. Israeli army said that most of the rockets were intercepted. Meanwhile, Israel has said that it is wearing down Hamas. The country's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, also said that more troops are being sent to Rafah.
I am now in Rafah area after meeting the head of Southern Command and the commanders of Division 162, Brigade 84 and Brigade 401. All are working in extraordinary manner in the field, opening fire. Hundreds of targets have been struck. Our forces are maneuvering and have reached close to their lines, and this operation will continue with additional forces entering the area.
And for more on this story, we're now joined by DD India's correspondent Sarah Coates. She joins us live from Tel Aviv now. Sarah, give us the latest on the conflict in Gaza.
Hello there, Tanvi. We heard from Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant just a little earlier today. He came out to say that this Rafah operation will be expanded. He said over the coming days, additional troops will be sent in there. Now, according to the United Nations, since this Rafah operation began, some 600,000 Palestinians have been forced to flee that area. Many of them are now sheltering in the Khan Yunis area and also in Al-Mawasi, which is an area that is on the western side of the Gaza Strip down in the south. Now, certainly very, very concerning given the situation on the ground when it comes to humanitarian efforts. We do understand so far that the Kerem Shalom crossing along with the Rafah border crossing do remain closed. So this, of course, is posing some massive challenges for these aid workers on the ground, really trying to service a sheer number of people who so desperately need this vital humanitarian aid. Now, it was a little earlier today that the Pentagon announced that this floating pier that's been under construction for the past few weeks is now operational and will begin facilitating some of this vital humanitarian aid in the coming days. But certainly the situation on the ground when it comes to this southern region, the Rafah region, is very, very dire, while intense fighting is continuing in the northern part of the Strip. We can report that earlier today, some 5 Israeli soldiers, they were killed in an incident in Jabalia, with the IDF coming out to say that this was a friendly fire incident. So certainly really intensified fighting right across the Strip, Tanvi.
Also, Sarah, there are reports of infighting happening within the Israeli leadership. What is the latest on that?
Certainly, the Defence Minister, Yoav Gallant, once again, he came out late last night during a televised address saying that Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, must make tough decisions to advance a non-Hamas governance of Gaza, whatever the cost. Now, this is certainly being seen as a direct challenge to the Prime Minister, the most sort of direct challenge really since the beginning of this war. Now, he's already facing backlash from a number of these very far right-wing members of the Netanyahu coalition. We're talking here the Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. They are now calling on the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to fire the Defence Minister, saying that this certainly has no place in Israeli politics. But certainly what we did hear there from the Defence Minister is echoing what we've been hearing from the United States, that there must be a post-war plan in place after this fighting. But Netanyahu has come out to address this, saying that after there is a Hamas stand, there will not be a Fatah stand, referring to the Palestinian Authority. And of course, he's referring there to what we've been hearing from the United States, that it wants to see a revitalized Palestinian Authority in control of Gaza once this war is over, Tanvi.
One hopes that this war gets over, the sooner the better. Thank you, Sarah, from Tel Aviv. Now, discussions on reaching a ceasefire in Gaza are expected to take the center stage as the Arab League holds a summit in Bahrain on Thursday. Those in attendance at the 22-member grouping's meet include Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Qatar, along with Egypt, have been the main mediators between Israel and Hamas. Now on to China. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping participated in a series of events in Beijing as they marked the 75th anniversary of China-Russia relations today. The duo attended a gala which included performances by both the musicians from both the countries. The two sides are expected to hold talks on Ukraine, Asia and energy. Putin is on a 2-day visit to China. In a joint presser with Xi Jinping, Putin called 2024 the year of Russo-Chinese cultural cooperation.
It is symbolic that such a large joint project as the Year of Russian and Chinese Culture is launched commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Russian-Chinese diplomatic relations.
Xi, meanwhile, said that he and Putin discussed ways to bolster ties in areas like that of trade.
President Putin and I agree that the two countries need to look for areas where our interests converge, tap into our comparative strength, deepen the integration of interest, and enable each other's success. The two countries need to make further structural improvement to our cooperation, consolidate the good momentum in trade and other traditional areas of cooperation.
Earlier, the Chinese president said that both sides agreed that a political settlement to the Ukraine crisis was going in the right direction. However, Beijing residents expressed mixed opinions over Putin's visit to China, while some said that the trip would have held both Russia and China. I beg your pardon, this should read as both should have helped both Russia and China, but others remained doubtful.
Russia is a good friend of China, and President Putin and our President Xi are also good friends. I think the two countries can have closer and friendlier cooperation in the world today with a win-win relationship, and this will allow the people of both countries to live even better lives.
We feel that China's foreign relations are not that good right now. China is getting very close to Russia, and I don't think it's a good thing.
So, Russia's President Vladimir Putin is in China in his first trip since re-election as the leader of the Russian Federation. And for more on Putin's visit to China, DD India's Laura Westbrook sent us this report from Hong Kong.
President Vladimir Putin received a warm welcome in China, and that close relationship between the two leaders was on full display. They held one-on-one talks as well as group talks, with Russia bringing a trade delegation as well as its foreign and defense ministers. The two sides signed documents deepening cooperation, with agreement on trade to nuclear and energy cooperation to food supplies. Chinese President Xi Jinping said that China was ready to be a good friend, partner and neighbour to Russia. He also said that when it comes to trade, that cooperation would be the driving force. Russian President Vladimir Putin, meanwhile, said the negotiations had been warm and businesslike, and he also confirmed that they had discussed the war in Ukraine. He said that both sides agreed that a political settlement was needed, and he also said that he would be briefing President Xi Jinping about the situation in Ukraine. Now, Beijing has been under increasing pressure from the United States to stop its supplies, particularly of dual-use components that end up on the battlefield. Just before this visit by Putin, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen both pressed China to stop exports that aid Russia's war effort. The US has also sanctioned Chinese firms with links to Russia, and with Russia bringing its state bank governor and other ministers, there has been speculation that the two sides will be looking to circumvent any potential sanctions on Chinese state-owned banks. The US has promised there is potential for further sanctions on Chinese state-owned banks if they found evidence that they were facilitating the trade of these dual-use components in the war in Ukraine. Laura Westbrook in Hong Kong, reporting for DD India.
On to the United States now. Former US President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial continues in New York. My colleague Nick Harper is in Washington, D.C. He takes it forward from me here and gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Nick, troubles for Trump continue.
That's right, Tanvi. The former US president's ex-lawyer and prosecution witness Michael Cohen will be cross-examined again today by Donald Trump's lawyers. Trump's legal team are trying to undermine his testimony that Trump was closely involved in paying hush money to an adult film star, Stormy Daniels, to keep her quiet over an alleged sexual encounter. Cohen has said that Trump ordered him to pay Daniels $130,000 in 2016 ahead of the presidential election. Trump has pleaded not guilty and denies having any encounter with Stormy Daniels. In the highest stakes moment yet, US President Joe Biden and Republican rival Donald Trump have agreed to debate each other twice, first on June the 27th and again on September the 10th. This comes after a rapid back and forth between their campaigns and a flurry of taunts and insults from the candidates. For months, it had been unclear whether Biden and Trump would even square off in a debate before the November election. Ukraine has said its forces are fighting Russian troops in northern districts of Vovchansk in the Kharkiv region. The Ukrainian army said their troops hampered Russia's plan of establishing a foothold in the region, and so far the situation is under control. Meanwhile, Russian forces are trying to take a village located about 30 kilometers north of Kharkiv. Amid rising tensions, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has traveled to the region, where he's held a meeting with the military and described the situation as extremely difficult. He also visited injured soldiers in the military hospital there. France has deployed more troops to New Caledonia's ports and international airport, banned TikTok and imposed a state of emergency. France's Interior Minister has said that the state expects to control the situation in New Caledonia after a third night of violent riots that have killed 4 people and left hundreds injured on the French Pacific island. Schools have been shut and there's already a curfew in the capital. DD India's Ross Cullen sent us this report from Paris.
The government has 3 clear objectives for how to deal with the situation in New Caledonia. Number 1, to re-establish order. Number 2, he wants to ensure that daily life can return to normal as quickly as possible. And number 3, he wants to create the conditions for dialogue. We know that Emmanuel Macron was due to have conversations this afternoon via video conference with local leaders in the French overseas territory, but that has been cancelled. The Elysee Palace saying that in fact it was cancelled because local leaders among themselves couldn't agree on dialogue to be had with the French president. But the situation here is so serious that Gabriel Attal has announced that there will be another 1,000 extra service from the police service being sent, not just regular police officers but also the special police forces. These are the ones that we do see regularly in France being deployed when there is civil unrest, when we do have riots, and so they are going to the island as well. They will be boosting the 2,500 extra police who've been sent, soldiers, as you say, at ports and the international airport. The situation, though, does remain very tense, as Gabriel Attal was outlining in his news conference just a short time ago.
British armed forces, alongside Polish and US troops, have engaged in training as part of Exercise Immediate Response, a crucial component of NATO's most extensive military manoeuvres since the Cold War. At the outset of the drills back in January, NATO disclosed plans for 90,000 troops to participate. The exercise involves over 50 vessels, ranging from aircraft carriers to destroyers, along with more than 80 fighter jets, helicopters and drones. To Slovakia now, and the country is convening a State Security Council meeting after Prime Minister Robert Fico was shot in an assassination attempt. He's said to be in a very serious but stable condition. The gunman shot Fico 5 times after he attended a government meeting in Handlova. Police said that the 71-year-old suspect is in custody and has been charged with attempted murder. Slovakia's president has called for calm, and the Minister of Defence, Robert Kalank, has said the shooting of Robert Fico was a political assault.
Thank you. Look, we're just talking about the level of democracy, about capability to understand each other, to accept the other opinion, and not only one is that good one. If somebody have a different opinion, it's also he have also his place on the earth and all in the political field. So this is the issue. What's happened? It's a political assault.
In Lower Bavaria, German archaeologists recently unearthed the remains of a man who lived around 4800 BC, shedding light on the ancient societal structures. Archaeologist Florian Ibel, describing the discovery as exceptional, noted the presence of numerous grave goods, including an abundance of pottery, 4 times more than typical for the era. Such artefacts were likely reserved for individuals of high rank. Well, that's it from me here in Washington. Tanvi, handing it back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Nick. Always a pleasure having you on the show. That was Nick Harper, my colleague, joining us from Washington, D.C. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. Campaigning in full swing for the 5th phase of India's general elections, polling to take place in 49 seats across 6 states and 2 union territories on May the 20th. And age is no barrier for Italy's 90-year-old sprint queen Mazenga, who ran 200 meters in just 51.47 seconds. We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
we don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja, and now we get you the latest on the Dominican Republic. Leonel Fernandez, 3 times the president of the Dominican Republic, intends to win the presidency of the Caribbean country for the 4th time in the elections on May 19th. Fernandez is a 70-year-old veteran politician and doctor of law who was the president of the country 3 times for the Dominican Liberation Party from 1996 to 2000, 2004 to 2008, and 2008 to 2012. Next, we get you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections underway in India. Campaigning continues in full swing for the last 3 phases of India's ongoing elections. Voting for the 5th phase will be held on 20th of May across 49 constituencies in 6 states and 2 union territories. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is campaigning in Uttar Pradesh today. Addressing a public meeting in Lalganj, the Indian Prime Minister lauded the implementation of the Citizenship Amendment Act, CAA, and accused the opposition parties for spreading lies about CAA. The Prime Minister noted that the work towards giving citizenship to those who are victims of partition has already started under this Citizenship Amendment Act. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also hold will also held an election rally in Jaunpur. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah also addressed a public rally in Bihar's Sitamarhi. Top leaders of opposition parties are also holding rallies across the country to woo the voters. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge addressed a press conference in Odisha. He will also attend a public meeting in Pulbani. Aam Aadmi Party Supremo and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal is in Uttar Pradesh's Lucknow, where he held a joint press conference with Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav. Now, India at the Cannes Film Festival will see the country hosting a Bharat Parv, that's India Festival, for the first time. It will be a networking event where Indian talent and opportunities will be showcased. The official poster and trailer of the 55th India International Film Festival, IFFI, will also be unveiled. We know IFFI will be held in Goa in November, and tonight, local time, India will host the Bharat Parv at the Cannes Film Festival. And now we take a look at other stories making news around the world. 3 people were killed and 16 others injured in a powerful explosion in a 6-story apartment building in the western German city of Düsseldorf on Thursday. The cause of the explosion inside the ground floor kiosk has not been determined. The incoming Dutch government, led by nationalist Geert Wilders' PVV party, is looking to opt out of the European Union migration rules. The 4-party coalition says it will aim for the strictest ever asylum regime with stronger border controls and harsher rules for asylum seekers who arrive in the Netherlands. Swiss-French artist Saipe has used eco-friendly paint to create a giant fresco. Through his art, Saipe aims to draw attention to the plight of migrants crossing the Mediterranean Sea and those trying to rescue them. The fresco is made of natural, washable materials and can only be seen with a bird's eye view. And now an inspiring tale of the 90-year-old woman sprinter from Italy who proves that age is indeed just a number. Italian sprinter Emma Maria Mazenga has claimed another world record in her age group this month when she ran 200 meters outdoors in just 51.47 seconds. This nonagenarian beats the previous record of 53.35 seconds set by Japan's Emiko Saeto in 2022. Emma holds 5 world records, 9 European records and 28 best Italian performances in various categories of masters sprinting. Her next commitments include the Italian Championships starting in June, and she has an eye on the World Championships in Sweden next year. Clearly an unsung star of Italian athletics, Emma Maria Mazenga. We all can take inspiration from her. And with that inspiring story, we wind up this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those who want to catch all the latest news and updates on the go, you can download our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. So we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.